Hello, and in today's video we are doing EFL Championship predictions for match week number 8 of the 2023-24 season. Yes, we're back again with another video. I've got a little bit of a different setup this time. Hope you like it, people. With my scores, and that will be read out, but also with the fixtures down one side, my championship fantasy football team on the right side, and of course my camera on the bottom right. So yeah, if you do go on to enjoy this EFL Championship match week number 8 score predictions video, then do smash a like on it. Remember to get your score predictions down in the comment section below ahead of tonight's first kickoff, Birmingham City against Queen's Park Rangers. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff, so get those predictions in the comments as soon as possible. And yeah, remember the scoring system for the predictions league is 3 points for the correct result. So if you said 2-0 to QPR and it was a 1-0 QPR, well, you get 3 points there because it's the right result. 5 points if you get the correct result and the goal difference. So for instance, if you said 4-1 to Birmingham City and it ended up being 3-0 to Birmingham City, well, that's the right goal difference, so you get 5 points. And then for the correct scoreline, you get yourself 7 points. So, without further ado, let's look back at how we all got on in Match Week 7's predictions. Although I do want to just quickly show you how my Championship fantasy team has been doing the last few weeks, because I admit I did do a bit of a stinker. On my Twitter, at RobertoHollis9, and Instagram, Roberto_the_pro, all non-caps, I basically forgot to post my team. Or at least, was it my team? Possibly it was just the mini-league standings for game week 6, which would have been, not last week, but the week before that. So apologies for that. Just missed that one. I think it was just all the games coming thick and fast. I lost track a little bit. But of course, there was midweek action this week on the Wednesdays and Tuesdays games. So what were your thoughts on that? Get them in the comments, because there were some interesting results for sure. And we'll go through those right now. But first of all, let's have a little look at what we were saying for our Match Week 7 predictions. So, here we go. Match Week number 7 of the EFL Championship season. Well, things all started off, didn't they, with that interesting game between Bristol City and Plymouth. And it was funny, at the time of recording that midweek video, I was a little bit late. And so the Bristol City goal went in as I was recording. It was around 7:15, around 7:30. And yeah, it was a shambles really, because I had, as you can see here, Mumba in my team in defence. But I also, in match weeks, so that was match week 5, I played triple on a Norwich player. That Norwich player being, of course, Gabriel Sara, who, to be honest, did let me down that week. Only got 18, could have been so much more. But yeah, 64 in game week 5, consistent. All right, took the minus 12, but that was just because I had loads of injuries that week. I was really unlucky. Would never advise that usually. But Mumba, to be fair, 8 points that week, did very well for me. Also, Jack Clark for Sunderland is an absolute baller. He keeps getting me Gaffer Championship fantasy points. And also the captaincy, as I say, Sara. But then to see Hazard and Hughes on the bench was a bit frustrating. At that point, though, Bayo also not starting games. So he did get me the assist off the bench, I think, against Coventry that week. But it was a time that I felt I needed to... it was time for me, It was time for me to get rid, basically. So yeah, Bayo was decent for me that week. Pretty happy about that. And then, yeah, we got the Green Arrow up to 786 overall rank. Then we had game week 6, which of course, was the week before the last week, which was the games last weekend. And yeah, this was the week I forgot to put on my in terms of the leaderboards and the standings in my mini league. But I actually had a bad week, 65 points. Now, very consistent, just very close to the score the week before. But I took the -4, and it didn't pay off. I think I brought in... Who did I bring in? I brought in Rajovic. Well, that paid off. Milieto Rajovic came into my team for Bayo, and Rajovic scored that superb header in the game against Birmingham City. What a game. 10-pointer for my transfer in. And Bayo, on the other hand, wasn't even in the squad. So that was perfect fantasy football management from me. But then I also did another change. I think I brought in... Was it Hughes for Preston, possibly? No, I already owned Hughes. So who was the transfer? Actually, I'll tell you who it was. I think it was Dewsbury Hall. I'm pretty sure it was Dewsbury Hall. Maybe just made the one transfer. I'm not sure. No, it must have... No, I had Dewsbury Hall the week before. So who was it? It wasn't Gunn, because I had him the week before. Was it Hughes? I'm not quite sure, people. I'm really not. Oh, maybe it was for. No, who was it then? I'm baffled. Oh, it was Martins. That was it. Yeah, Mateus Martins came in. So yeah, I took a -4 for the Watford lads, and I didn't actually think Martins played too badly actually against Birmingham City, but that was really unlucky because Martins. I mean, he at least got the clean sheet point, but it was a frustrating one because Loser got subbed off early against Birmingham and Martins didn't do anything. So I took a -4 for that. But, still Rivich did the business, so we're pretty happy with that. But yeah, we had a fat red arrow ultimately, even though Clark kept performing. Angus Gunn for Norwich got me a nice clean sheet. I mean, it was defensively quite good. I had Pring, who got me a nice clean sheet. Hughes, obviously, not ideal. Mumba, not ideal. But Rivich, absolute god. That is Mileta Rivich, scoring the goals for Watford. But yeah, it was a good week. And captaincy, yeah, not too great with only 6 from Sarah going to 12 on the captain. So relieved I benched Manning though, because they got absolutely pummeled, Southampton, against Leicester. It was the midweek game against Leicester, and I thought, the Friday night I think it actually was, and I thought Leicester will score in that game. They certainly did. Dewsbury Hall got me a nice little assist for that game, and yeah, Manning with a -1. So Southampton's defence recently has been a shambles. But as I say, I was looking at Matchweek 7's results. This is what it did for my Championship fantasy team, and it was very similar. Again, 64, 65, around that. And again, I took a -4, but this time I got the green arrow. So it just shows taking hits doesn't necessarily stop you getting a green arrow, because the week that I took a -12, I still got a green arrow. But then the week after that, I only took a -4, I got a red. So it just depends on how everyone else is doing that week. But yeah, I subbed in my Plymouth players, as I said, for that Bristol City game. And then went to see those Bristol City goals in the first couple of 10 minutes or something. And then I was double clean sheet wipeout. I was fuming. So yeah, Hazard in goal, 0-pointer, did play, but yeah, just conceded like 3 goals, I think. Actually, conceded 2 goals, it says. But yeah, anyway, the point is, shambles, really. Shambles for that Plymouth defence. The same thing goes for Mumba. Also, I did bring in Potts this week as a part of the -4. So Brad Potts came in from Preston. And to be fair, I was gutted when I saw that Preston did in fact concede. But my guy Potts still gets the attacking return. You love to see that. Or actually, no, it wasn't an attacking return. Yeah, that's it. It's a performance bonus. So despite conceding, he gets the 6-pointer. Lovely stuff. But Clark, I've talked about him just before. Now he's even more of a legend. 17-pointer in the game against Blackburn. I mean, I think he scored against... who was it he scored against? I think it was QPR the week before. And I was loving him for that. But then against Blackburn, a 17-pointer, 2 goals. What a legend. Scores a penalty, scores another one. This guy is just absolute gold dust. So he's a strong captaincy contender for this weekend's games, Matchweek 8, Game Week 8. Yeah, what a legend. Should have captained him, really, but, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Dewsbury Hall, my guy, still keeps getting those assists. 9-pointer again. And then Mateus Martins. Wow, this was crazy because you might have actually not seen, but I did a live stream of the West Brom game at home, so I wasn't actually able to make the Watford West Brom game at Vicarage Road, so I did a live stream on my channel, Roberto the Hornet. Basically the first time I've done this properly, and I thought it was real fun. I gave it a go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't catch it, yeah, do go back and watch that because it was really good. It was a couple of hours, but it was every minute was worth it because it was just a really exciting game. What a topsy-turvy match that West Brom one was. And Mateus Martins was my captain basically by accident because I made my transfers. I brought in Potts and who we're going to talk about in a second, Hardy, as part of my -4. And then I just basically lost track of time on Friday night when the deadline was. And what happened was it Friday deadline? I think it was. I just kind of, lost track of time. And, no, it wasn't the Friday deadline. Of course it was midweek games. So it was Tuesday. But I basically forgot to look at my captain and who my captain was. And it was for some reason already on Martin. So I just had to accept that. But when he scored against West Brom, I was going crazy, as you probably would have seen on my live stream. So yeah, legend Mateus Martins, love you. You've been so good this season. The Brazilian winger, honestly, he reminds me of Roberto Pereira a couple seasons, well, more than a couple, but a few seasons back now for Watford. That kind of tricky winger, scores amazing solo goals, and what a goal it was. Went past about 3 or 4 different players in that defence for West Brom. And yeah, look, what a finish. Right foot, curler, no chance for Palmer. Brilliant. So yeah, 20-pointer. Love that for the captaincy. Obviously, Clark got a bit more, but still, I did not expect him to get that goal with him being the captain, so love that. Also, we had a bit of a nightmare in the attack, really, because Vrajovic didn't actually look too lively against West Brom, because he looked fantastic in the games before that, but just maybe struggled to get into this game against West Brom. But certainly he's a good asset to own going forward. Vrajovic, a legend amongst men, and he just couldn't quite do it against West Brom, but I'll forgive him. Armstrong, a bit frustrating though. There's a couple blanks in a row now, so it's whether I stay patient with him this week. I think I'm going to give him one last chance this week. I think Southampton have got a decent fixture as well. They've got in match week 8 a game up against Middlesbrough, who, we know how bad they are defensively, so fingers crossed he can score in that one. But yeah, frustrating blank. And then Hardy was my other transfer in alongside bringing in Potts. A shambles, really, because I went for him because I was trying to replace my bench fodder that was injured. Rhodes, actually not injured, left the league. So yeah, look, ultimately I thought for Hardy, that was a good game against Bristol City. But as I say, Plymouth had a shocker, and he got a one-pointer because he didn't even start the game. Deary me, came off the bench. I mean, I thought he was going to be a nailed-on starter, Ryan Hardy, for them. So, yeah, a bit of a shambles, really, that second transfer of the -4. But still, we get the green arrow. We take it, 64 points, up to 841 overall rank. The bench, though, did have a few points, especially Loser. I was just thinking Loser would get subbed off again. I thought West Brom would not be as, free scoring as it was, getting those 2 goals. Loser did assist one of them, so yeah, unfortunate that, but I think the decision was still right. And obviously Gunn by 1 point, but gets more than Hazard. And then Manning and Pring, 4 pointers each, whatever. I'm not that bothered. Second half clean sheets, they don't really mean a lot in this game, but obviously when you have Mumba getting 1 point for playing very very few minutes, it's frustrating. So we will show you my match week 8 team once I've done my predictions. So going into match week 8 then, what were our predictions last week? Well, we first got Bristol City Plymouth all wrong. We went for a 3-0 Plymouth. Meanwhile, we had Colm, who went for a 2-1 Bristol City. So fair play to Colm. Bristol City did get the victory. It was ultimately a result I did not see coming. And I am a bit confused by this Plymouth team, because from one week to the next, they can look brilliant, and then one week they can look awful. I thought against Watford a few weeks back, when we drew with them 0-0, they actually played really well. Defensively, at least, they looked solid and they were hard to break down. But we had a lot of chances and probably should have won that game. And then Plymouth had a couple small chances. So they're a decent side, Plymouth. Let's not play that down. But they got hammered against Bristol City 4-1. And I think it did say 2 goals conceded, but I think it's just some sort of glitch on the Gaffer website. There was, of course, 4 goals for Bristol City, and basically all the Bristol City players that scored ended up not being the one that I had on my bench, which I guess I was quite relieved by. Pring obviously being on my bench, but Bell, James, Sykes and Cornick, but Randall for Plymouth. So yeah, just need to see some better performances from Plymouth. Especially now that I'm tripled up on them. Not ideal stuff, really. But of course, I can always just bench Hazard for Gunn and bench Mumba if I feel like the fixture's too difficult. But of course, they've got an interesting game this week against Norwich, who, look in good form. Obviously did lose last time against Leicester, but they are up there in the table, so I probably will bench most of them. Then we've got the game. So, yeah, as I said, good prediction. Not quite perfect, though, from Colm. So 3 points. Then we had Cardiff-Coventry. Now, for this one, I was fairly confident that Cardiff would, at least give Coventry a good game. Coventry recently have been a team that really have struggled. Generally last season they were fantastic, but yeah, the recent games have not been great for Coventry. And Cardiff obviously got that win in the Welsh derby against Swansea. But wow, fair play Cardiff City. I mean, this is a very impressive result. 3-2 win over Coventry. Great game, it's got to be said. Fantastic game, and a late winner from Etete. I mean, obviously, the late consolation from Matt Godden didn't make a difference, but incredible match. And yeah, good to see Carlin Grant back in the goals. He seems like he's, a striker that does need confidence. But yeah, certainly good win for Cardiff. I actually did predict a game, Cardiff City, that would actually... sorry, I've just looked at my predictions. Yeah, I went for a 2-0 Coventry, so yeah, not good at all. I did say Coventry would score 2, but yeah, the wrong result ultimately. So no points for me, not a good start from the first two. Meanwhile, it was 1-1 in Cole's prediction, so no points for Cole there either. Then we had Preston against Birmingham. Now, Cole went for a 3-1. I went for a 1-0 Preston. I did think Preston would win this game. They did, but it wasn't quite 3-1 in the end. It was 2-1, so at least I get the 5 points there for the correct goal difference. Just the one goal in my prediction, but it was 2-1. I mean, Birmingham City, they gave it a good go, and Stansfield did look quite lively actually against us in the game a couple games ago. His shot hit the post, I think. He had a couple of chances that Batman saved well. But Jay Stansfield with the opener for the Blues. And then, of course, an own goal from Bielik. I was about to say Helik, but Bielik. Not ideal stuff, really. And then a bit later on, in that second half, we had the winner from Osmajic. So, yeah, good win for Preston, but I expected that. They are starting the season really well. Whether or not they can keep it up all season and get a promotion place, I don't know. We'll have to see. But so far, so good for Preston. And, yeah, it was just good to see that I got that 5 pointer there. So, moving on to the next one, we've got QPR against Swansea. Cole went for a 1-1 draw. I went for a 1-0 QPR. It was, in fact, between those two sides, a very fascinating game. This was the sort of game I thought might be a 0-0, if I'm honest, because both sides have been low on confidence. But, in fact, it did end QPR 1, Swansea 1. So, I've just got to say, pat on the back for Colm, 7-pointer here. Impressive stuff, for sure. Not easy to get it bang on the money, and I didn't get this right at all. So, no points for me, 7 for Colm there. Yeah, look, ultimately, interesting game. Lyndon Dykes, late equaliser, gutting blow to the Swans after the opener from Ginelli. But look, at the end of the day, Swansea are not in great form, so they just couldn't quite hold on at the moment. Then we had the game between Southampton and Ipswich. I thought that Southampton would win this, but Ipswich are a decent side, so I still felt they'd give them a run for their money. My actual prediction in the end was to Southampton to get this a 3-1 victory, but dearie me, we were both wrong actually. Cole went for 2-1 Southampton, and Ipswich, I tell you, Ipswich are a decent side, and they are no pushovers. So fair play to Ipswich Town. They've come up and they've really shown themselves to be a good side. So getting that victory, thanks to Hutchinson's goal, and I do feel for Southampton right now because their defence is looking leaky, and they didn't get the goal on Tuesday night. So yeah, no points for either of us there. Then we had Colm go for a 1-1 in the Blackburn-Sunderland game. I actually went for Blackburn Rovers 2, Sunderland 2. So we both went for draws, but it's good to see that in the end it was a close prediction from me, 4 goals, but it went the way of Sunderland and not a draw. So 3-1 Sunderland, no points for either of us, but yeah, good win for Sunderland. And as I mentioned earlier, Jack Clark, absolute goal machine, but also Neil and Leonard on the goal scoring there. Then we also had the game between Hull City and Leeds United. Now, Colm actually went for a 2-1 Hull in this game. And fair play, bold prediction there. I went for a 2-0 Leeds. I thought that this would be a Leeds win based on their good result against Millwall. But fair enough. Leeds not quite showing that sharpness in front of goal. 0-0, sending off as well for Leeds United. I mean, it was just rodent, really silly. So ultimately, Leeds have had a few 0-0s now. They face Watford this weekend, and it won't be an easy game for Watford for sure. But hopefully, we can score the goals like we did against Coventry and against West Brom, and keep them out at the other end if Leeds are struggling for goals. But, we do know that Joel Pirot is a very, very tricky customer to deal with, so got to watch out for him. Ultimately, though, yeah, not good for our predictions. 0 points for both of us. Also, then it was Huddersfield against Stoke. Now, for this one, it was 1-1 is what it was predicted by Colm. Huddersfield against Stoke, I thought that this game was going to be a fairly... not comfortable, but I thought Stoke would win this one quite easily. But fair play, it was 2-2. It was looking like it might have been a 2-1 win to Stoke until Rudoni got the equaliser just after that goal from Ben Wilmot, ex-Watford, of course. So, yeah, good win for Colm there, I should say. Good, got the 5-pointer there, not quite correct score, but still very impressive. No points for me there. Then we had Millwall against Rotherham. Colm thought this would be a 0-0 draw, which to be fair was not a terrible prediction because it was a bit of a dead game. But in the end, Millwall actually putting through 3 goals. They did find that magic moment eventually and winning the game 3-0. Good result for Millwall. I thought Millwall would just win this tight game 1-0. But yeah, 3 points for me. Fair play to Millwall. Good result. Norwich against Leicester. I thought Norwich would make it tricky for Leicester and ultimately get the win, 2-1. But as I mentioned, 2-0 away win for Leicester, good result for them. Coleman, on the other hand, he went for a 3-3, maybe a bit over-optimistic there, but no points in that one. Then Watford 2, West Brom 1 was the prediction from Colm, and I went for, of course, Watford 3, West Brom 1. Again, just like with earlier, right number of goals, but just not as much for Watford. It finished 2-2, great game. Jed Wallace and John Swift with the goals for West Brom, and as I mentioned, Matthias Martins with an absolute stunner. But also, let's not forget the absolute stunner scored for his first Watford goal. Tom Ince, after 3 minutes, incredible team goal, lovely passing play, lovely switch out and passing across the attack line, and then a lovely little pass, set in, cushioned pass from Loser to Ince, and a fantastic finish into that top left corner. So look, really good result from the Hornets, really good performance. As I say, we've been playing great football, we just need to get those wins in consecutive, and ultimately we couldn't make it 2 wins on the bounce. A bit of a shame, but West Brom did look dangerous at times. Defensively, we do look a bit dubious. Ultimately, we just need to stop dilly-dallying on the ball and giving it away in silly areas, as you saw with James Morris for the second goal from Jed Wallace. So look, at the end of the day, we need to cut that out of our game, but in terms of performance-wise and scoring goals, it's looking good. So, those are the predictions for match week number 7. Let's get into match week number 8 without further ado. We've got Birmingham City against QPR up first. Now, this one I feel Birmingham City have the upper hand, because although QPR, did get the point last time out against a decent Swansea side, I say decent, they're struggling a bit, but it was at least a positive result, I suppose, for QPR to get that point. I think this season Birmingham City have played some really good stuff, and I fancy them for the victory here. So I don't think it'll be anything spectacular, but Birmingham City 2, QPR 0 is what I'm going for. Okay, next up, Ipswich against Blackburn. Now, I do feel this actually will be closer than people think, because yes, Blackburn have not been the best defensively recently, but Ipswich, they are a good side, but so are Blackburn. They've got threats of their own. So I think this will be a great game. I think Ryan Hedges will score for Blackburn, but I will say Ipswich Town 1, Blackburn Rovers 1. Then we've got Leeds United against Watford at Ellen Road. It's the big one, 3 p.m. kickoff. Now, I do feel this is going to be a tough one. We know in the past that we've struggled in this absolute cathedral of atmosphere in football. It's one of the bigger grounds in football. It's one of the older grounds, and a club of the Leeds size, they are a decent team. We don't, shy away from that. They've been in the Premier League for a couple seasons before this season, so they're a decent side for sure. And they haven't sold too many of their players. Obviously, Rodrigo being one of them has left. The likes of Robin Koch, I think, has also gone, as far as I'm aware. Also, they've still got Meslier, which is just fair enough. Still got Ayling. Still got a decent amount of players. Obviously, Jack Harrison's a big loss for them. He's gone to Everton. But, yeah, still decent side Leeds. So, Daniel Farke for Norwich, was an incredible manager in the Championship. Whether or not he will be able to deliver that for Leeds, we'll have to wait and see. But, of course, as I mentioned earlier, Jorginho Ruta and Joel Pirot, they're the 2 danger men to watch out for if you're a Watford perspective. So we do need to keep them out. We need to stop creating them chances. But as I mentioned, we are going to be encouraged by their recent 0-0 draws against the likes of Hull City, but also in the game against Leeds. Was it Hull City? I think it was. Yeah, they played Hull in midweek, didn't they? I think, yeah. They played Hull, but also they drew 0-0 against Sheffield Wednesday recently. So both sides that defensively aren't always amazing, and yet they kept the clean sheet. So just shows that Leeds attack might be struggling. Do I feel we're going to win the game? I don't know. This is the sort of game I can see draw written all over, or either that or we lose terribly. I remember last time we went to Ellen Road, the 2021 to 22 season, it was a dismal afternoon, and I think that was the game that got Xisco Munoz, the current Sheffield Wednesday boss, the sack. So, yeah, I'm not feeling too great about this one, but I'm going to go for a Watford draw. I think, I don't often predict us to not win, but I feel like Leeds is a tough place to go, big atmosphere and all that. So, I'll say a entertaining 2-2 draw yet again. I just feel like we need to sort out our defence a little bit because it has been leaking goals. I don't trust our defence at the moment, but I do trust our goals. So hopefully, we can get a point at least from here and then take that into the next game and then get some more wins to climb up that table because we're currently around 14th, which is not ideal. But as I say, performances have suggested better things. So I'll say goal scorers, the first one for Watford to get the opener. I'll say Miliatar Rajovic again. Not the fact he's in my fantasy team, just I think he's good. And he'll get the goal on 25 minutes. Then Leeds hit back with an equaliser from Ayling on 39 minutes, going to level at half-time 1-1. Then Leeds going ahead, classic Watford going behind, just as we saw against West Brom. And I think the goal this time will come from Jorginho Ruta on 59 minutes. And then Watford have the last laugh with an equaliser from the Brazilian baller. Of course, it's Mateus Martins on 83 minutes. Absolute limbs in the away end. So yeah, that's my prediction. Leicester City against Bristol City is up next. Now, I feel this is a bit of a mismatch. I know Bristol City have had good moments. Obviously, last week was a great win against a decent Plymouth side, in my opinion. But I still feel Leicester are the stronger of these two. Ultimately, Enzo Maresca has got Leicester playing some great football. There's no surprise. He's an ex-Man City, staff member. So he's decent. And Leicester have got a great squad for this division. The likes of Madvididi and McAteer, they're all great assets. And how Iheanacho is still there, I don't quite know. He looked great in the game against Norwich. So I feel this Leicester side can win this 2-0 win. Then Middlesbrough Southampton. This is a bit of a tight one, actually, because I'd say tight. Southampton will be fancied by many, but Southampton's form recently has not been good, so maybe it's a bit of a chance here for Middlesbrough, especially them being at home. But I think Southampton will just edge the win. I'll say Middlesbrough 0, Southampton 2. Next up, it is Plymouth versus Norwich. Now, this is Norwich. I don't know why I went all Aussie there, but I feel Norwich are going to win this one, I think, because Plymouth, it wasn't ideal last week, but they're still a decent side. Defensively, I think they aren't going to implode every week, but Norwich have got enough ability in their attack to score goals here. So I'll say Plymouth 1, Norwich City 3, and Sarah to get a couple. Now, we've got Rotherham against Preston. I think this will be a 2-1 away win for Preston. Preston have been good, to be fair to them, so we'll probably back them for the 3 points this time. Sheffield Wednesday against Swansea. Now, at the Liberty Stadium, I think this is a big relegation rumble, but I'll go for a 1-1 draw in this one. West Brom Millwall. I'm going to say edge towards a Millwall victory. I think West Brom looked decent against Watford, but I don't know. I think Millwall will have their moment. West Brom 1, Millwall 2, I think I'm going to go for. Then Stoke Hull. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Stoke City. I think Hull have been good this season. That's why they're quite high in the league. But I think they are lacking a few goals sometimes. And Stoke, on the other hand, they've got a lot of good ability in their squad. Sunderland Cardiff. Now, Cardiff, obviously, great result against Coventry, as I mentioned. But Sunderland are a team in fantastic form right now. Their start to the season wasn't great, admittedly, but the last few games against Blackburn, against QPR and against Southampton, Sunderland were putting some great football in. So I think Tony Mowbray's side, with the home advantage, should win this one. 2-1 Sunderland against Cardiff. And then finally, we've got the Monday night kickoff. It is, of course, Coventry v Huddersfield, two sides that haven't been the best of form, but of course it's new manager bounce for Huddersfield, with Neil Warnock going and Darren Moore, the ex-Sheffield Wednesday boss, coming in. I feel like he could have a bit of new manager bounce and get a point from this one. Coventry 1, Huddersfield 1. Those are my predictions for match week number 8. Get yours in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Probably won't be doing a Leeds United match review, I'll be honest. It's just going to be a bit too tricky on Saturday. But, as I say, if you did miss out on my West Brom live watch along, do check that on my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.